Alright folks, it's Ozark Patriot. It's Friday, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going home. I've had enough. Anyway, I want to make a little video here and show my wife, and you guys too, what this foundation looks like. Now, there's a whole bunch of concrete guys going to laugh. They see this inside form right here, but there's a reason for it. This gravel is not the clean kind. You can see it's got a bunch of stuff in it, and we're expecting rain. So what I'm hoping is going to happen, I put those little 2-bys down, staked them out, so that when it rains, it'll help beat that down where it won't settle out from underneath the concrete after I pour the concrete. So that's, we normally don't put 2 sets of forms in here. You normally just have your outside set. You can see it's not even staked yet. But we put the outside forms down, but you never put inside forms. They just pour rock in the middle and you rake it up and call it good. But in this case, it's the wrong kind of rock. So what I'm hoping is by forming it up, it won't settle out and I won't have a hollow space underneath the concrete after it's poured. So the only thing left to do now is put the chairs and rebar in here, and I will pull these forms, obviously, pull the stakes and forms out of the inside before I pour. And then that's it, man. I got a bunch of rebar I got to bend up. I don't think I'll use these. I think I'll use something else. So I can tie my blocks to it. But that's how it works, man. It's perfectly square. The dimensions from corner to corner are exactly the same. It's level all the way around. So it's fine. It's ready to go. A couple hours worth of labor and I can pour concrete. I could have done it today, maybe, if I had help, but I've had enough. So I'll come back next week and hit it again. Anyway, this is Ozark Patriot. Later. Alright folks, update on this foundation here. I think we're about ready for concrete. As you can see, I've removed that 2x4 inner frame, and then I put down 2 strands of rebar. Now the rebar sit on chairs, and you can see those chairs are staked down where they can't move, and then the bars are tied off to those hats. I think, looking at these hats, I think these hats are too tall for this application. Those look like 2-inch hats. I think they're too tall, but they're going to work fine. It's going to be just fine. Got it braced off to the sides, 3 places on the long sides and in the middle and the end. I'm really nervous about having a blowout. I had one on a different construction site. It sucked. The form failed. Concrete went everywhere. The truck's only got so much concrete in it. Oh man, it was just a mess, but it was fun. You can see I've already buried the floor drain. It just right now it just goes to here. And then I'll take the backhoe and dig a trench out to daylight that way. So the foundation drain will also go out that same place. So now the well casing, you can see, is that direction. So I'm going to trench through this wall 3 feet down and put the expansion tank right here in this corner of the room. That's why that floor drain's right there. So if you figure the block wall is going to be 12 inches from the wood there, you can see that's just about enough room. I measured 27 inches. That's about enough room to put that expansion tank in this corner. Then I can put all the plumbing and whatnot on this wall and get it away from everything else. That way I got the rest of the room used for storage. So anyway, concrete's coming tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. The weather's supposed to be 40 degrees when we wake up, and then another, I don't know, it'll probably be high of 50, 55 tomorrow, which should be plenty. Anyway, the some of the hard things that you can't forget now. You see where I've marked where the center line of the cinder blocks go? That's the center line markings there. And then on either side of them you see blue markings. It's got an R next to it. That's where the rebar goes. So all the rebar is already cut. There's a bunch of it there. There's another bunch of it right there. So we can stick the rebar in here right after we pour and trowel it down. That way we can get done with it. But yeah, you can't, that hurt my head doing all this math, but I think it's going to be right. I've measured it 4 different ways, so the concrete, trying to determine how much concrete goes in here is another mess. If you don't get enough concrete, you are screwed big time. But concrete's $100 a yard, so who wants to order more than you need? So, I don't know. Anyway, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we're going to start pouring. And I hired a guy to help who's done concrete in the past. So between him and I, we should have this knocked out in just an hour or two tomorrow. So and then thank God, man, because it's going to get cold. This is the 3rd week of October. So sometimes you get decent weather in November, but sometimes you don't. And I want to have this slab down. I want to have it done. So today would have been perfect, but we just ran out of time. But anyway, looking pretty good. I'm really looking forward to having this thing poured, let me tell you, getting this off my head. This has been hurting my head for weeks. So get it done so I can get home and play with my son, my lovely wife. Anyway, this is Ozark Patriot. I'm out. Alright, the concrete we got this morning was so wet. Man, it was sloppy. Just ran out of there like, man, it's terrible. So it's been down here for shit an hour, man. It's still just nasty. Anyway, we'll be troweling on this for a while, I can tell you that. It's pretty tough. Anyway, I'm glad to have it down, that's for sure. And we didn't have any problems. The rebar stayed right where it's supposed to go, and the sides held up just fine, so I'm a happy camper. If we can get this thing troweled out a little bit, we'll be in good shape. Anyway, more later. Alright folks, the wind, well, I'm making this video. Let me get down here out of the wind. Alright, that should be a little better. This is what we call losing a floor. Alright? And I'll take full responsibility. It's my fault. And the reason we lost this, the reason it's my fault, is because I listened to somebody who obviously doesn't know what they're talking about. Alright, this concrete this morning, we poured it out of the truck, was way too much water, just like diarrhea. I mean, it just ran out here, and we just splooshed it out, screed it off. And the temperature out here is only 40, 42. Even right now, it's not even 50 degrees. It's the middle of the afternoon, sun's going down. So, Mr. Know-It-All told me there's no way, no how that thing would set up, that we'd be finishing it at 9 o'clock tonight by the headlights of the truck, and that maybe we might have to push it off to finishing it tomorrow morning. Alright? Now, it actually came out of the truck at about 11 o'clock. And right now, I don't know, the sun's going down, but I'm guessing it's 5:30. And that concrete's hard as a rock. I mean, it is set up to the point where there's no point in putting a trowel on it, because all you're doing is just raising rocks. And you can see out here in the middle, I've knocked down the highest parts and whatever. Anyway, Mr. Know-It-All decided that what we really needed, what I really had to have, was a magnesium trowel. I didn't have one. Sorry, man, I got a bucket full of tools, never used one, never had one. I didn't know I ever needed one. But anyway, he claimed I had to have one. Well, we are out here in the middle of nowhere, Ozarks, Nowhereville, way out, okay? So the nearest place to get one is an hour away. So he says this thing's not going to set up. So I said, well, I'll just jump in my truck and run over and get one. So while you're there, get you a bull float. We can bull float it out, man. Make it smooth as a baby's butt. All right, I'll give you a bull float. So I run over to Lowe's. The nearest one is an hour away. Pick up a bull float, 3 handles, and mag float, and some other stuff. And I run right back here, and I actually make it back in less than 3 hours. So that was pretty good. I get back here, and somebody else is working on the floor, and it's hard as a rock. It's completely set up. There's no way I shouldn't even stuck in them rebar down there in the end, because they're not, and I quit after I put that one in, because there's no way that they're anchoring nothing. So this is what happens, folks, when you listen to people who claim to know what they're talking about, but they're not out here working. They know it all, but they're not here working with you. So my fault. I take full responsibility. I should have never left this thing. I should have stayed right here and babysit it. The minute it started to set up, got out here with the knee boards and troweled it off. But no, I needed a magic mag trowel and a magic bull float for some reason. So now the floor will still serve its purpose. I mean, I'm not going to like chisel it up and throw it away or whatever. It's still perfectly flat and level. It will still serve as a floor. Now remember, this is a tornado shelter. Okay, this is not my basement in my rec room. Okay, this is just something. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to let this continue to set up like this. There's nothing I can do about it now. You can see where I've run the trowel over it, and it's just raising rocks. So there's no reason to keep. You can see rocks there I've knocked out. Well, I'd love to get them out, but I know you're not going to. So that's the end of that. It's not going. So we're going to let this one set up just like this. And when I come back and start laying block, what I'll do is I'll bring a masonry bit and I'll drill 1/2-inch holes and pound in the rebar. I'll cut the rebar, the corners off the rebar. I'll cut them off, and then mix some epoxy, put some epoxy in the holes, drive the rebar into the holes, and then put the block on top of that. Now, structurally, the pour is fine. The rebar stayed exactly where it was supposed to. This mix was so wet that it encapsulated everything perfectly. That part of it's fine. It's a strong. Structurally, it's fine. It's just cosmetically, it just is horrible. So if you had to sell this job to somebody, I guarantee you they would not be impressed at all. I mean, at all. Like George Carlin says, at all. So, message to self: don't listen to people who give you advice, but they're not willing to come out here and work. I don't care if he is an old timer, did this his whole life. I mean, this is my luck, man. So this follows with the rest of the luck of my entire lifetime. So if something can go wrong, it will. I have to make provisions for that every time I do something. So the only thing that's ever gone correct in my entire life is the marriage I have to my wife and my little boy. The rest of life has not been good to me. So I got 9 broken bones and a bunch of hospital bills over the years to tell you, if it can go wrong, it will. So anyway, this is Ozark Patriot. I'm not real impressed. I'm pissed I paid $500 for a slab that looks like terrible. It looks terrible. But it'll work, and I'll do better next time, because I won't listen to folks the way I did this time. Anyway, this is Ozark Patriot, and I'm out.